And I'm going to say good morning to our Pinellas County Schools families. Welcome to our Parent Academy Power Hour. Oops, my child is off task. Self-discipline strategies. My name is Sheila Kane, and I'm the District Coordinator for Family and Community Engagement. I'm excited to introduce our presenters and panelists this morning, all from Pinellas County Schools. Dr. Valerie Brim is the Director of the Office of Strategic Partnerships and has been a teacher, assistant principal, and principal. Keosha Simmons is our parent advocate and our Take Stock in Children College Success Coach, also from the Office of Strategic Partnerships. She has been a teacher and assistant principal. Joining them is Dr. Tamika Rodney, an instructional staff developer in Pinellas County Schools, where she supports students, teachers, and families utilizing the MTSS, which stands for Multi-Tiered System of Supports framework. We also have Catherine Olson, who is also an instructional staff developer for Pinellas County Schools. She is at Campbell Park Elementary, where she serves as the behavior coach, training and supporting staff with student behaviors. And joining Tamika and Catherine on our panel will be Carrie Chin, who is a licensed clinical social worker and currently school social worker at New Heights Elementary. Some Zoom particulars to go over now. You are all currently muted, but you can unmute yourselves upon instruction. There'll be several opportunities for you to participate, and we encourage that. You may also use the chat feature if that's more comfortable for you to type in your questions or comments. Towards the end of the presentation today, we will have time for a panel of our experts to answer your questions. So be thinking about what you might want to ask as the presentation unfolds. Also during the presentation, we will be putting you in breakout rooms so that you might discuss in a smaller group some questions we will pose. Make sure you unmute yourself for the breakouts. There will be a 1-minute warning so you'll know when to wrap up your discussion, and then we'll bring you back to the main meeting room. The session, as I mentioned, is being recorded and will be available on the Parent Academy webpage by tomorrow morning. Please feel free to share it with other family members, community members, anybody that you think would benefit from listening. The Parent Academy page is simply pcsb.org/parentacademy. Now to get us started with the presentation today, I will hand off to Ms. Simmons.
Thank you so much, Ms. Kane. I really appreciate everything that you are doing for us. Greetings to everyone. I am so humbled and excited just to facilitate the webinar today. Above all else, right now I'm multitasking between being having a full-time career and now serving as a full-time facilitator of my children's academics, their behavior, socialization aspects, and so much more. I'm a mom of 3 children, and I am living this right alongside each of you. This is a challenging time for all of us. Different homes have many different expectations for their children's behavior. Whatever you as a parent decide is fitting for your home, it is important that you set the expectations and follow through. PBIS at home can help students maintain behavioral expectations. Today, my goal is that we walk away with a deeper understanding for the following. Can everyone hear me okay? Okay, I saw a message that said your speaker isn't working. Okay. Okay, I'm going to keep going. So, today, I want to make sure that you all have an understanding and walk away with an understanding of how PBIS framework promotes effective discipline at home and at school. Understanding key strategies to diffuse inappropriate behavior quickly and with dignity. Understanding the difference between reinforcement and punishment. Understanding cultural differences with regards to discipline. And then we'll have an opportunity to seek advice from our experts. Next slide, please. So what is PBIS, the framework? Positive behavior interventions and support. You know, consistency is so crucial when it comes to student behavior. The video you are about to watch discusses the discipline framework that is used across the nation and in Pinellas County schools. This video will discuss and explain the PBIS process and how this looks at home. Okay, Sheila. Okay, so I think we might have a sound issue. Give us 1 second. All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Ms. Kane. So based on the video, can anyone think of any strategies that you're currently using at home that aligns with PBIS? If we could get a couple of participants, you can just unmute your mic or feel free to add a comment to the chat box. So a couple.
Incorporating structure into the day.
Yes, absolutely. Incorporating structure, absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much.
It also is important to make sure the reinforcement is consistent.
Very good, absolutely.
I would also add in, like, when you are in the corrective feedback portion, that dignity piece, you know, really being respectful and remembering that we're all in the same boat.
Absolutely. Carrie said celebrating our children's successes with verbal praise. That is definitely important.
Also in the chat, Eileen said, I use first and then pictures for my pre-K student son.
That very good, wonderful. So it's important that, you know, we decide on expectations. have a family meeting, use of positive reinforcement for appropriate behaviors, and use of consequences for inappropriate behaviors. Okay, thanks, Sheila. Next slide. So, we're going to chat about our core values and what your core values are and how it relates to discipline at home. The initial meeting should be as a family. Explain the expected behaviors. It would be great to get input from your children, but don't feel like you need their approval. They are your expectations, and remember, you are the adult. So today we want to make sure that we define behavior expectations based on our own personal core values. Define the specific behavior you want to see. These are aligned, again, to your personal core values. Identify how to shape and manage your children's behavior, and praise their good behavior and celebrate their success. So we're going to break these down. Next slide, please. So behavior is something that occurs. Problems will occur throughout this entire process, and we just have to be okay to accept that. And just remember the following: stay calm. Remind your child of the expectations that you all have established. And more important than anything, we have to reteach, model, and have your child practice the appropriate behavior. You want to give appropriate consequences. So this is an example of what those behavior expectations could look like for your family. Treat others with respect and courtesy. Have a hands-off approach. Be sure your behavior does not result in touching another individual. So we all know, whether it's in a school setting or at home, sometimes that horse playing definitely turns into a true physical altercation. So it's something that you want to expect and set as a non-negotiable. Be prepared for learning. Have all your required materials in your learning space. Respect the home learning environment. Off-task behavior can result in a punishment. Next slide, please, Sheila. So right now, if you have children sharing a device, that is something that can cause a lot of issues. So it's very important that, when you're talking about the behaviors that should be displayed, be considerate of others' learning spaces is something that you want to make sure that you highlight. Considerate of their computer devices. So meaning create a schedule. It was something that I would definitely encourage you to do. Establish a time and stick with it. Be specific. Make sure that they understand the importance of having uninterrupted time. Also, just discuss the importance of using our indoor voices and not yelling or screaming at others. We talked about hands-off behavior and listening to parents when they're speaking without interruptions. It's very important as well. And to display empathy and kindness. We have to show each other, and again, it's modeling and reteaching. Just show them how much you care. Next slide, please. So identifying how to shape and manage your child's behavior. Children learn by watching everyone around them, especially their parents. When you use manners and good coping strategies, you teach your children to do the same thing. It is absolutely essential that you consistently provide positive reinforcement when your child behaves as you expect. So a good example is pointing out sharing among adults. Oftentimes, children often feel that they are the only ones who have to, quote unquote, use manners, the only ones that have to share or to take turns. So when adults share, point it out to your child. For example, you could say something like, "Oh, daddy is sharing his fruit with mommy. Good job sharing, daddy." Model good ways to calm down. Teach your children how to calm down when they are upset or frustrated. For example, if you're frustrated about sitting in traffic, we know right now that's not happening, but it's something ideally that we've all been in that situation before. Saying something like, "Mommy is really frustrated right now. Please help me calm down by talking with me and taking 10 deep breaths with me." Something so simple, we are taking the time out to model what our expectation is. Teach children to say how they feel. If you are really frustrated, you might want to say, "You are driving me crazy right now." But instead of saying that, try to express your actual feelings by saying something like, "Mommy is really frustrated right now." This teaches children to say what they feel instead of making critical or hurtful statements. Then help your children do this when they are upset. For example, it looks like you're feeling sad. If your guess is wrong about how your student or your child is feeling, and if it's not an accurate guess, allow your child to correct you. And something to always remember, behavior plus attention equals more behavior. If you are like most people, you'll leave your children alone if they are behaving well when your children are misbehaving. But you'll redirect them or turn the direct attention to them when they are misbehaving. This tends to backfire. The attention around misbehavior actually increases the behavior as a way to get more attention from us. The best way to improve behavior is to give your children lots of attention when they are doing something you like, and remove your attention when they're doing something that you do not like. An easy way to increase good behaviors is by describing their behaviors and praising them when they make a real effort. So for example, saying something to them like, "Good job for listening the first time. Good job using your inside voice." Next slide, Sheila. Praise good behavior and celebrate their successes. It is absolutely essential that you consistently provide positive reinforcement when your children behave as you expect. And here are a few ideas. Each child could have a goal and they can earn a reward for reaching their individual goal. You could have a family goal. So when we reach 50 points, we will have a water day or bake a cake. Nothing, too over the top. We don't want to break the bank, but you just want to be able to offer a menu of rewards, some big, some small, that the children can buy, even maybe with a point system. You could do a lottery style drawing in which more entries equals more chances to win. Next slide, please. So we've discussed the PBIS process and we've shared some strategies that may work for us. Take a few minutes to jot down something that is really working well currently with your family and something that maybe you'll do differently moving forward. Now we're going to share our answers in the chat room. So I'll give you a second to think about that. So we're going to break up into groups. Each member of your group will have the opportunity to share out. You'll have 3 minutes to share out your takeaway. Please be sure to unmute your mic.
Okay, here we go. Okay, I think we have everybody back in the main room. I will go back to sharing my screen. All right, so sometimes things work well and sometimes they're a little glitchy, but I think most people were in a breakout room and most people had an opportunity to have a short chat. If you didn't have anyone in your breakout room, or for some reason the technology didn't work, there'll be a chance to share out now.
Yes, absolutely. So, as Ms. Kane just mentioned, we had an opportunity to, just meet or chat with some of our other participants. So we would love if we could have a few of our volunteers to just share what those discussions consisted of from your breakout room. So you can either unmute your speaker or you can place a message in the chat.
I'll go. What we've really learned is our 5-year-old needs a lot of attention. She's our social butterfly. So she's really been acting out because she's missing out on that with, she gets our attention. But so what we've been doing is really trying to give her individual attention and spending one-on-one time with her to draw or paint or color. And we haven't done it enough because we've, got 3 kids, but hopefully as we continue to kind of pour into her, we're hoping to see her meltdowns kind of decrease.
Right.
So that's something we've been doing. And then having her expectations written out on a chart so she can earn a reward because she misses out on treasure box at school and she loves treasure box.
Right. Absolutely. And the beautiful thing about this is a lot of the we should want to see a lot of these things mirror what the expectations are at school. We will want to see the same expectations being displayed at home. So whether it's writing out a chart or a daily schedule or the incentives that your child can choose from for the week, these are all things that will help keep them on track and on task. Is there anyone else that would like to share out?
I suggested that maybe a conversation with the student's teacher, because the student teacher has had the student all year long. So they might have some strategies or ideas that they recognize your child respond to more quickly, and they might be able to share that strategy with you at home.
That is very true, Dr. Brim. I personally did that with my youngest daughter. I reached out to her teacher, because of concern that I saw, and I wanted to know if he saw the same thing from her in class. So it really did help me shift, our conversations at home. So that is a wonderful strategy. Thank you so much. So
there was a comment in the chat from Wendy, who said, I'm interested in strategies for older children, middle and high school. They are used to having a lot of freedom when home and are having difficulty with structure for online classes.
Very good. Before I say anything, do any of our panelists want to chime in on strategies for our older students?
One of the things I would recommend is, I'm sorry, I'm not a panelist, but transitioning the student to the mindset of digital learning is really a college career readiness type idea. So as you transfer to really begin to, take digital lessons, you have to that focus if you're in college or if you are transitioning to a technical school. So use this opportunity to prepare them, because more universities and more colleges are having more online courses. So it is very important to train their behavior for a different setting at a different time.
Very good.
Agreed. Can I just add in real quick as well? Earlier, it was mentioned, and I apologize, by one of our pre-K parents that they use like the first then. And that works really well with older kids as well. I have a college student who, you know, it's all changed for her. She went from, you know, living in the dorms, going to classes, to now doing everything online. And so, especially with middle and high school, you still have the capability to kind of put those parameters, and it can be that reward system of first you do this and then you get this. And so just kind of, you know, they're still at an age where they do need that carrot. You know, what am I working for? Why am I doing this? And so if it's that they want to get on the Xbox, okay, first you get this assignment done, then you get X amount of time on the Xbox. And so you can kind of create that system of shared ownership.
Absolutely. And something, you know, I had the opportunity to be an assistant principal for a K-8 school, and we use PBIS, K through 8th grade. It is something that can correlate across all grade levels, all ages, you know, because bottom line, it's good strategies and they are best practices. Though your wording may need to be a little different, it's just great information to share with your children. Thank you so much. Do we have anything else?
Ms. Simmons, will you remind everyone what PBIS stands for?
So it's positive behavior support.
Nothing else in the chat.
Nothing else? Okay, I'm unable to see it. I'm sorry, Ms. Kane.
That's why I'm telling you.
All right, so we can go on to our next slide. So our next presenter is going to be Ms. Catherine Olson. I've had the privilege of working with her at one of our elementary schools, and it was just wonderful listening to her interactions and actually seeing her interact with a couple of the students. So she is going to talk to us about, you know, students with disabilities and what does this all mean for them. So I'm turning it over to you, Ms. Olson.
I guess I should unmute myself. Thank you. So I have worked with students with disabilities for my entire teaching career, from self-contained classrooms of all ESE students to now working with both teachers, and I do a lot of work with students as well. And so hopefully I have some strategies that'll help. So we'll see. But, you know, I'll just read this slide to you. Students with IEPs and 504 plans, they still have to follow school rules, right? And state and federal law require that public schools do maintain a safe and orderly learning environment. That's why every public school has a code of conduct with rules for behavior. And so basically what that means is, at the end of the day, it is the responsibility of the school to provide that safe environment for all students. You know, both general education students as well as exceptional education students, and creating that environment can be tricky, but at the end of the day, that is the end goal, is that all students are safe and all students are able to learn. Next slide. And so really I was asked or tasked with how can you support your child at home, right? So we're going from, they were in school for 6-7 hours a day to now they're at home 24 hours a day, right? And so it's, I promise, not rocket science. And my philosophy is that if we treat children like they're humans, then we're golden. You know, treat children with kindness and like they are human beings. They respond really well. There are some tricks, like, you know, as on the slide, it says, be explicit with your expectations. There, you can't have a gray area. So if I gave the expectation that I need you to, so like, we can sometimes get emotional, right? Shut your mouth. Well, I can still make a lot of noise with my mouth shut, right? So you want to be as explicit as possible. I need you to stop talking to me right now. I need you at a voice level 0. Please give me a moment. you know, and so like when you're thinking about those family meetings and setting up those expectations, you really want them to be as explicit as possible, because children do want to please. They do want acceptance from the adults that they care about, and the adults they know care about them, right? So they're going to go out of their way to make you happy. And so one thing I wanted to mention was that when you're creating these, you know, our new classroom expectations, because our house is now part of our classroom, it is important to have your child, or now we can call them your students, involved, right, in creating those expectations. And the key to remember is that when, as adults, as human beings, when we feel like we've been heard, or we feel like our opinion or our thoughts have been taken into consideration, we are a lot more willing to accept, right? So even if you don't use whatever their expectation ideas are, if you value or show them value of their thinking, they're going to accept whatever it is that we come up with at the end of the day. And so that goes right along with consequences. If you hear me out and you listen to me, and you truly listen, and you show me active listening and empathy, I'm going to accept my consequence, and I'm going to own it. And that's teaching such important life skills, such important social skills that we a lot of times miss the mark on, just with, you know, the fast pace of the way that our world is now. But just when kids feel heard, you'd be surprised. So I apologize for taking that left turn and going on a whole nother rabbit hole. But when kids really know what's expected of them, they are more likely to adhere to that and really try to stay within your guidelines. So the easiest way to really make sure your expectations are explicit is, are they observable? Can they be seen, right? So if I need you sitting with your bottom in the chair and your feet on the floor, in order to meet that expectation, I can see your bottom in the chair, I can see your feet on the floor, right? Whereas go sit down. Well, I could sit on the floor, I can sit on the bed, I can sit on the TV, I can sit anywhere I want. So the more like, and you know, there's controversy of, you know, being so, people have said that's militant. In my opinion, when children don't know, it's not militant. It's teaching them listening skills. It's teaching them acceptance. It's teaching them rule following. It's, again, social and life skills that are being taught that we don't even realize we're teaching, and they don't realize they're learning. But it's, think about, you know, later on in life, in the job, you know, in Walmart, learning how to wait in line, you know. So just those expectations, the clearer and more concrete they are, the less headache you will have, promise. And then a big one, not just for students with disabilities, but for really for everybody, is choice. Remember, we have the choice to do everything in our life except blink and breathe, right? I don't have a choice over blinking and breathing, but I do have a choice over everything else. And like, I get children push back all the time, or I've had teachers push back, you know, nah, if I don't do it, I'm going to get in trouble. Oh, so you're choosing to not get in trouble. So at the end of the day, it is still a choice. If you don't go to bed on time, then you're choosing the consequence of not being able to get on your Xbox tomorrow. But the choice is yours. I'm going to let you make that choice. And so when we do that, especially with children, and really especially for children with disabilities, because a lot of times we have trouble processing, they feel empowered, and most often they make the right choice. When I've used it, they've made the right choice more often than not, because you're giving me power. And it's okay, because guess what? I can use controlled choice. Like, you can either sit in this chair or you can sit in that chair. Please make your choice.
Great.
they're doing what I want them to do, but it's on their terms, right? And then the other key to controlled choice is giving them time to make that choice, right? I know that there have been plenty of times when I found myself, you know, you need to sit down right now. And then I'm just standing over them. Let's go, or move, come on. And so now I'm getting into that power struggle, right? Whereas if I say, so I need you to take a seat, please. You can sit here or you can sit here. And then I turn and walk away, and I give them 30 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe a minute before I readdress it if they haven't made the choice, you know. And then, you know, as depending on the behaviors and what the situation is, eventually it'll get to a countdown. Please make your choice. Otherwise, teachers will make that choice for you. You may do this or this. And a lot of times I'll put my hands, I'm trying to back up. I'll put my hands like this with the choice. So you can choose to sit here, or you can choose to go take a break. I'm going to count down from 10. Choose to sit here, choose to take a break. And then I count down. And when I do this, if the child is not able to verbalize, they can simply touch my hand, right? So we've all been in that situation where we are so in our feelings that we can't we cannot verbalize anything. And so I know as a child, as a child with disabilities, that would have been great for me to be able to, make that choice without having to verbalize it, without having to look at somebody. Don't make them look you in the eye. Sometimes they can't, right? They know they've disappointed you. And so controlled choice is a really, like that will be your best friend, promise. You know, you can have cereal for breakfast, or you can have a glass of milk. What's your choice? You know, or whatever it is that the situation is, but know in your mind what you want them to do, right? And then you can give them the choices, and typically they're going to choose the choice that you want them to. So you can advance, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So again, just avoiding those power struggles will really make your life easier. You don't want to back yourself into a corner, right? Talking about if-then statements. You really don't want to use them in a consequence situation. If you don't do this, then I'm going to do that, right? Because as much as the children do want to please us and seek our approval, they'll test us, right? So if you don't get that work done today, you're grounded for a week. Well, good luck with that, right? Because they're going to test you, and they're going to see if they're going to test. And now you've backed yourself into a corner, and you can get into a situation where now the child feels so far down, right? So buried in a hole, they're not even going to try to get out of it. They're just going to keep digging, you know? And that's when you lose your power, you lose your authority, you lose respect. The child is going to they're going to lose respect, you know? And so I jotted a couple of notes before I got started. And like one of them that I always ask myself is, does the punishment fit the crime? So it sounds harsh. That's what I use in my mind. But, you know, am I going to, take away your outside bike riding privileges for 2 weeks because you got into an argument with your sibling? I don't know. Does that really fit, And so if we can take that, the emotional part of us, the frustrated, I'm trying to work from home, I'm trying to make sure my kids aren't falling behind, I'm trying to keep my house clean, I'm trying to pay my bills, all these things, if we can take all of that stress out when we're making these decisions, it will help us, and it'll help everybody. If you think about it, we take a step back, all those things I just mentioned, those are just a few pieces of what's on our minds right now, what's on our plates, what's on our shoulders. And now you've got to add infinite amounts of stress to that to even start to think about what our kids are experiencing. This is something they've never experienced. What do you mean the park is closed? What do you mean I have to wear a mask to go check the mail? It's craziness, right? For us. let alone children, let alone children with disabilities, right? And so conversations are huge. I conversate with my kids all the time. I listen to them wholeheartedly. I don't listen to anything. I focus, don't do stuff. If they're explaining something to you, you have to give them 100% of you. Don't be opening the fridge to get some water. You want to avoid so that they see you are engaged with them, because again, they're going to feel heard. They're going to feel valued. So they're going to be accepting. When there is a miscue in behavior. So I love that video that Ms. Simmons played earlier. That's like one of my favorite videos. And I ask teachers all the time, if somebody misunderstands, what does that mean? Well, they didn't understand what was said. Okay. So when I misspeak, what does that mean? I spoke out of turn, or I spoke incorrectly, right? Well, what does misbehavior mean? Bad, right? Or they're breaking the rule, things. No, that prefix, right? Going back to my elementary days, that prefix is still there, that miss. It is a misstep. When children misbehave, and I apologize, my slide didn't, you didn't do anything, Ms. Kane, but I had a different slide. Anyways, there are typically 3 reasons why children misbehave. Those reasons, like, there's 3 reasons that cause misbehavior. And those reasons, it could be they don't understand the expectation. They don't know what you want them to do. It's just a simple lack of understanding. And so a quick re-explanation or reteaching will solve the problem. It could be they don't have the skills to meet the expectation. So another reteach opportunity, again, going with that miss, right? And then the third, and the third most common would be that it gets them what they want. Their misbehavior gets them what they want. So children are brilliant. And if me screaming and tantruming gets you to come over and sit and watch this YouTube video with me for a few minutes, guess what? I'm going to tantrum every time. We have children crying and throwing fits, and we hand them an iPad or a cell phone just because we got a lot going on. So those are the 3 things. If their misbehavior is getting them what they want, they're going to continue to do it, right? So like Ms. Simmons said earlier, pulling attention away from the misbehavior and giving attention when they're doing what we want will really help reshape. Now, don't get me wrong, if they're throwing chairs or what, you kind of got to give them some attention, but when it's time to address a behavior, you want to do it as quickly as you can and then move on it. Don't hold it over. Don't perseverate on it. Don't stay on top of it. Man, you just keep doing this, you got to wipe the slate clean and start again fresh. Because if the kid feels like they can start fresh and that they're forgiven, you're going to see that shaping happening a lot more fluid and a lot quicker. Same thing is just really praising the behavior that you want, and really, it can be as simple as like a quick little cheer. Like we do little cheers at school. I walked in a classroom that had, some severe behaviors, and all I did was walk in with a little dollar store stamp. And if I walked in and the students were on task, I literally didn't say a word and I stamped their arm. And they wanted to see if they could cover themselves in stamps. Last thing that I wanted to share was some questioning that you could ask children when they're in trouble, right? And it takes away the why. You want to avoid why questions. So you simply ask, what happened? What were you thinking at that time? What have you thought about since? Who has been affected by what you did? And what do you think will make it right? And so and I can I'll type all these into the chat box, but if you are providing those questions, your children will take ownership of their actions, and really it takes away that threat of, takes away the defense. They don't get on the defensive. Sorry, I'm good now. I could go on forever. I have my little soapbox right over here.
No, this is so great. I started typing the questions, but if you want to finish the restorative questions up, I only got to the first two. So
Yep, I'll get them in there.
Thinking at the time.
And I'll add in the ones that, I'll also add in the ones for when someone has been harmed.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'll put both in.
Ms. Olson, this is such great information. And, you know, if we need to do a follow-up, this is something that we definitely will. We want to make sure that we're empowering all of our families to feel comfortable during this time. So
absolutely.
I would really, really appreciate you taking the time out to join us today.
I'm very thankful.
We're getting close to about our 10-minute mark for the time that we have left. This hour has gone by so fast. So we're just going to move right into our MTSS. Dr. Rodney is going to share, you know, what this process is all about as it relates to the school setting and how you can implement these best practices at home. Dr. Rodney, over to you.
Hi, I want to say good morning, but I guess it's good afternoon at this point. So really quickly, I'm just going to go through, we say MTSS, it stands for Multi-Tiered System of Supports. So what we do is we look at how students are performing, whether it's iStation, standardized tests, classroom assessments, and see if they're meeting those grade level expectations. And if they're not, we get together and do a problem solving process. So we're looking at what's the problem, analyzing the problems. Are there barriers? Are there curriculum learner mismatches? And then we start to kind of develop interventions based on whatever the problem is. And the last step in that process is looking at, is it working? So in the problem solving process, we get together in school-based teams. It could be principals, educators, psychologists, and we also like parents to come and participate in the process. Each tier of the MTSS model represents a greater intensity of services and more frequent data collection. If you can kind of see the pyramid down at the bottom of the slide, you can see tier one is everyone. So everyone's receiving high quality instruction. And then as we move up the pyramid, we're at tier 2. So tier 2 is still everyone, they're still receiving tier 1 instruction, but tier 2 is kind of looking at additional supports. So we're moving into small group instruction and maybe more individualized, or not individualized, but more specific supports. And then when we get to tier 3, we're looking at, they're still receiving tier 1, they're still receiving tier 2 services, sorry. And then we're also looking at an additional level. So tier 3 is the most intensive. We're looking at their data more frequently, and then it's more individualized. So we're not looking at just small group work, we're looking specifically at what that individual student needs. And that's part of tier 3. But all in all, with the MTSS process, we need to work with families. So when family school partnerships are included as part of the MTSS process, each subsequent tier also represents a greater opportunity for communication and then joint problem solving amongst families and educators. Next slide, please. So again, proactive family engagement. We need parents, we need families, we need communities involved in MTSS. So that includes frequent conversations with your child's teacher, including asking for progress reports based on their areas of difficulties, not waiting for midterm reports, not waiting for report cards, because then it's, you know, what's done is done. It's almost too late to kind of intervene there. So just asking frequently, is my child successful? How do I know? I hear a lot about the new math that kids are doing. So if I don't necessarily know what the expectations for success is, I'm going to ask my child's teacher. And if they're not successful, why is that? So again, analyzing why is the problem occurring so you can really close that gap. And then what can we do differently? So not just what you're doing at the school, but what can I as a parent also help you do differently? And again, this has been touched on a lot, celebrating successes. So we're not just focusing on negatives, we're focusing on the positive attributes and the gains our students have made. And then checking in. So just checking in frequently and finding out additional support. If your child goes to a Title I school, you know, they're probably going to have Title I personnel, paras, other teachers supporting them, but because we're all really essentially trying to work together. And then seek support to understand and participate in problem-solving decisions about your child. It is not just MTSS where we're doing it at school. We do want you guys coming in, especially with PSW meetings or problem-solving worksheet meetings. We always invite the parents to participate because it's a way to find out how are we all working together, and you give background information. So what can I do to participate in the process? And then also asking, what can I do with interventions at home, which is especially pertinent right now. So are we working on phonics? Are we working on comprehension? Are there apps we can do? Are there little games we can play to kind of support? You know, we're not asking that you guys are closing gaps over the summer break. You're keeping them engaged, but you're also just building, you know, relationships, keeping your relationships going. And then how will I know if interventions are working? We don't just want to practice stuff just for the sake of it. We want to make sure that it's working. And if it's not, what are we going to do about it? So in frequent contact with your child's teacher. Next slide, please. And we've talked about MTSS and special education a little bit. I feel like we've talked about special education throughout, but just a synopsis, MTSS for every student. So from kindergarten through graduation. It doesn't matter if a student is in special education, if they have disabilities, if they have an IEP, we are all working together. They are always a part of the MTSS process, which means we're always going through problem solving. We're always looking to see if something's working, if it's not. And then even if your child receives special education services, special education teachers might not be the one giving them support. It still might be a Title I person, because all we're doing is making sure that all kids are successful. So it might be a different variety of resources, but we're all working together to make sure kids are supported. Next slide and last slide. Well, last slide for me. And we've talked about this also, you know, when we realized this was happening, virtual school, we really had to develop a plan of action. So I have 3, 8, 5, and 14 months. So we really had to get together. We all have dedicated workspaces. It's not pretty. You know, I'm at the dining room table. We brought in a table from the garage and my girls are working at that table. We're also looking at, sorry, I can't see the slide. They have a specific area where they can get all of their supplies, whether it's crayons, markers, paint, pencils, whatever. They have a posted schedule. I have my daughter go through her Teams pages and write out all her assignments for the week in her agenda, which helps keep her accountable, but also lets me know what's going on. Sexton is an Avid school, so my kids have Avid binders. Unfortunately, I don't think I'll took them home because we didn't know we'd still be there. But if you do have your binder, writing the assignments in there and kind of checking in. I check in on her Teams pages. My oldest is 8, so you know she's independent, but she still needs some support. So checking in with your child's teacher, checking in with teams to see what's going on, because it is a different platform, you know, going through the different classes. So making sure they're together. And then asking for a weekly calendar. I found it really beneficial when my child's teacher started sending out all the assignments for the week. So we're not going in every day to try to figure out what's going on. So I tried to speed through. So if you have any questions, I'm willing to answer. I'm willing to provide any bit of resources. But thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rodney. That was such great information. I love the examples of how we can implement these strategies at home. It's definitely some things that I am taking away from this to implement with my 3 that I have here. So due to the time, and this is great collaboration, we are actually going to skip over to our panelist conversation. So basically at this point, if we have any questions from any of our participants in this webinar today, now is the time for you to ask any questions that you may have, you know, as it relates specifically to your child, how this impacts you at home with your children. If you have questions about how do you navigate these processes when your child returns to school, now is definitely the time that we would love for you to unmute your mic, or you can type any of your questions in the chat.
Ms. Simmons, we had a question a little bit ago that I suggested we wait till the panel. So Megan was asking, how can you implement this when you've already lost control of the daily school and household situation?
Right. I feel like I'm in like this bargaining battle with my son, and I'm in this, you know, I've like lost so much control of my house. I'm like, oh my God, I will buy you a toy, or like, I've totally lost control of the situation. and I don't know what to do to get it back. Last night we had a conversation, and I apologized to him. I tried talking to him, and that kind of worked a little bit. But now here we are again, and he has not been on the computer this morning, and we haven't been able to get on Teams and do anything. So that's,
How old is he?
he's 6.
Okay. So getting on Teams and doing all that is already a challenge, because he's
Correct.
6, right?
Correct. And then when we are on, he's like looking to me to, answer the questions for him. And I'm like, no. And then when it's like a quiz where I'm not supposed to help him, and I see he's answering it wrong, but I can't say anything. Then he gets mad at me. Then there's this 3-year-old sister who gets jealous that he's on the computer. And I have a designated workspace, and I have a dry erase board, and I have all these things. I'm like, why aren't they working? And, so.
Do you have the, like, in your specific situation, do you have the time in your schedule to sit with him when he's trying to answer questions and whatnot? Like, are you
Right.
able,
Because
so
I'm not working at all right now. So
okay.
we're all home together. So, we have my desk, and I'll come sit with him. And at the beginning of it was a little rocky, but then it was fine because he likes doing Dreambox. He hates iStation. He's good at math. And off the computer, he likes to read books to me and stuff. I think it's the change, but then his sister comes up and tries to crawl up on him, and she's jealous. And then I try to get her situated doing something, and then he stops what he's doing, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my mind because it's just me and them.
So a couple of things that I would maybe try is one, having, at least for now, to get out of that having to bargain so much would maybe be to kind of openly conversate about his assignments. Just have conversation with him. Like, whatever the question is, talk through it with him and allow him to just verbalize. Unfortunately, that's a big, in my opinion, miss in academics is the verbalization. I think that it's really hard to answer questions, either typing or writing, if I haven't verbalized it first.
Right.
And so that might re-engage him in the work. If you guys are talking, it'll get him excited.
Yeah.
And then another one would maybe be, obviously I don't know his relationship with his sister, but perhaps like seeing if he'll pull up a book on iStation and read with her, let her sit in his lap and they can read together, or he can play school and be the teacher and kind of,
well, that's what they do when we read books. Like, he reads first, and then she can't read, but her version of reading is like what she sees on the pages, and she tells us. And where was I going with this? A lot of times, like, she tells him what to do. It's kind of funny.
Very cute, and he'll do it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
that's awesome.
Yeah, and he's with his teacher, Miss Myers. He goes to Plum Elementary. He does really good with her. He'll have, some kind of sometimes he'll have behaviors for not participating or like talking and stuff, but he never has like serious behavior problems or anything like that.
Yeah, 6-year-old behavior.
Yeah, exactly. And oh man, I feel like my parenting confidence, if I had any before, is at 0.
Oh no.
Should not be. Like, this is a whole new thing we've never dealt with. I think we've all felt like failures at some point during this.
Yeah.
But I think giving, us grace. I have to give my kid grace and like, you know what, this team's not working today. Like, we missed a live lesson this morning. And I've
tried not to push him, but it's turned into, we're behind on this writing assignment he's supposed to have done. And, I know this is a big change for the school, but the lesson on Nearpod where the girl talks and she talks to this robot and the robot only responds with the word beep. Like, I find him just totally tuning out when that lesson's on because he's 6. And I think he doesn't even understand what is being said or what's going on. So the part where Ms. Myers talks and he has to play and listen is pretty good. But I just find him not wanting to sit at this computer. And
I would definitely talk to his teacher though. Like, are there some aspects that we can kind of cut out?
Yeah.
Right.
Like, we've had a lot of parent surveys. Is it too much work? Is it just enough? Is it too
Like if it's not working for him, then I'm almost positive his teacher is willing to go back. I know Miss Del Duca is there, Mrs. Stack is supportive.
Yep.
So they're 6, they're in kindergarten, or he might be in first grade.
He's in first grade, yeah.
Right. I would really see if there are some things you could just take out of that, because it is
Chunk it,
at this point, get to the meat of it, and then we'll do this one assignment, and then we're gonna move on.
That's what I do. And I make sure he does Nearpod, because I know that's the one on Teams that's being graded. So I make sure he does that. He likes Dreambox. He likes Myon. iStation, I know he has to do it. That one I don't really force him. Like that, like I've got him to do it once for the ISIP, and I have
got to pick your battles.
Yeah,
you got to pick your battles.
But you're not failing.
No.
You're a great mom. Like kick that narrative out of your head.
Right. Has he been able to do any kind of live chat with just him and
teacher?
Well,
that was my recommendation.
Yeah,
they're working on that. They're having a lot of issues where they're still smoothing out some of the technical things, and they were going to use something called Flipgrid, to where all the students can talk to each other. Because I know he gets real upset about, like, sometimes I'll ask him like, "What is wrong?" and I miss my friends, and he starts crying, and I forget real fast. Like, it's just like Miss Olson said, like how they're processing all this. It's really easy to forget that, you know, to think about it from their point of view. So
and then the last thing that I would also offer, because you know, I heard you mention like I'll buy you a toy, is you could do something like that. I know, I mean, I have a million things, they're all at school, but or else I would offer them to you. But you know, you can go run down to the Dollar Tree, or even just make your own, a little grid, you know, and you know, if he gets, maybe start with one assignment, or 10 minutes on iStation, or whatever it is. And he needs a sticker or a stamp, right? And he has to put it on, and it's up somewhere where he can see it at all times. And once, you know, and you guys come up with a deal, if he fills in 5 stickers, he gets this, or if he fills up the whole page, he gets to go to the store.
I should have done it that way, because I have a toy in the car that he wanted. It's still in the Target bag, and he hasn't gotten it yet. It's still sitting in there from last week, because the deal was if he completed everything all week minus iStation and the writing assignment, he could have it on Friday, you know, after school, but that didn't happen, so it's still sitting in my car, and he keeps asking for it, and I'm like, I'm not giving him this one.
So that's beautiful that you didn't give in. That's beautiful that you didn't give in, because you set a standard, right? If you do this, then you get that. And so if you would have given in to him, then that would have lowered his standards and your expectations.
Right.
Well, so keep reminding him, right? Today's Tuesday, and tell him, you know what, bud? Let's try it again. Starting today. We won't even count Monday. Starting right now, if you get done, and you just want to make sure it's very attainable for him. You know, and then if he has like small things that he could earn daily, so a whole week might be too long for him. You know what I mean? And so like, you know, you get, you know, breakfast for dinner if you do this, or you get to pick dinner, or, you know, you get to stay up late, or something smaller that he can start to feel those successes more immediate. But you have not lost control. It doesn't.
That's what I feel like. I'm just like, oh my God, what is happening?
Megan, is it just you, the 3-year-old and the 6-year-old?
Yep.
So 3-year-olds need a lot of attention. 6-year-olds need a lot of attention, and that's a challenging situation. I think I want to piggyback off of people suggesting that the 3-year-old join in when the 3-year-old can. So like, I think someone else mentioned like cutting yourself some slack in terms of you have a schedule, you clearly know what you want to get done for the day with them, but there's 2 of them and they're competing for your attention and time. The 3-year-old doesn't have school activities online to do.
Well, there, Miss B, because Mindy goes to Plum too. She's in their 3-year-old class, and Miss B finally called and said that she gave me this password and something for Mindy too, which is good. Because I was getting real worried. She was so jealous. I was like, oh my God. So I was trying to put stuff on the tablet for her, and so this week and last week, I'm like, I'm going to lose my ever-loving mind.
Even alternating them, like, I don't know if the 3-year-old will sit alone in a room and play, not door closed, but I don't know if the 3-year-old will sit in an area where you can keep one eye in play, knowing that in 20 minutes, you know, mom is going to switch them, or we're going to switch activity. And or if the 3-year-old knows that in 20 minutes, then they'll be able to join the other one for something. But having some kind of rotation, and even celebrations, even if it's not a big toy, even if it's something small, you know, when we finish this blank that has been really hard today, we're going to play a game for 10 minutes together, or we're going to do
because I definitely don't think it's too long for him. I don't think it's out of the realm of his capability. I think it's just because he likes doing the math and he likes doing the reading and stuff. I just think it's all very strange. I know his birthday's coming up, and I think I just feel guilty because I didn't get all his work he was supposed to have done, so it's making me feel really guilty, and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be behind, and then he's going to
no more of that mom guilt. You're clearly trying to do all the assignments. Y'all are clearly trying. So
Okay, well, thank you guys for your input. When I saw this email, I was like, I'm so joining this.
Yay.
So it's very helpful. Thank you very much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. And because, you know, keep in mind, you are not the only one. We are all in this together. We are all trying to work it out and to balance and to juggle. So you're not alone.
Thank you.
Dr. Bram, did you say something? I'm sorry.
Yes, I wanted to go back and make a couple of comments regarding some of the parents having students that are in the secondary and high school level, or middle and high school level, and some of their behavior pieces at home. But I think it is all going to be attributed to their engagement in their digital learning. And so I would just like to recommend 3 things: is if they can conversate with their teacher and build what we call collaborating groups, or groups where they're required to do work with their classmates. That will kind of put them back on the mark. They'll have an opportunity to collaborate with ones they have not seen. But that grouping is very important. Second, to kind of find out if there's a way to do project-based learning during their digital platform. And then lastly, just make sure that their assignments are filled with a lot of rigor. And it's just not dummying down because we're in a digital platform, but the expectation is going to be important. And then you have to really understand the generation. You know, we as baby boomers, I'm a baby boomer. I'm not quite clear on Gen X and Z, but they do different. They learn different. But to just connect that to their generation, and it's going to be a lot of remote in their jobs, in their schooling. So just using this as an opportunity for learning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Brim. That is definitely information that we want to make sure that we incorporate with our secondary students. So unfortunately, at this time, we've run over our time, but this was so meaningful, and it's everything that we need to assist us during this time. You know, so our final slide, Ms. Kane, if you can switch over to that. Before we close, though, I want to make sure that you all know, if you have additional questions, please email. The easiest would probably be to email Ms. Kane. She is the point of contact in the flyer that has been distributed, and she will make sure that your questions are answered by whomever needs to do so. And she also added to the chat, so it's kanes@pcsb.org. But in closing, you know, on behalf of the Office of Strategic Partnerships, we would like to say thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to join us and to be a part of this webinar. Appropriate behaviors at home can transfer to school and vice versa. So you feel better when you focus on what is going right. Focus on the positive. Your kids will notice and respond to this positive change in you, and in turn give you even more reasons to feel positive. My hope is that each of us are walking away with something to add to our personal toolkits. I know I am. Please let us know if there's anything else that we can do to assist you all, any of your additional questions or concerns, We are all here to help you. Thank you so much and be well.
Am I supposed to leave the meeting or am I staying?
Thank you for asking.
I don't know. I kind of thought we'd let everybody, you know,
Okay.
we just debrief for a minute.
Okay, I was like, no one's moving. But I don't want to make the call.
I just
Wait a second.
Lots of thank yous in the chat.
All right, we're getting there.
I'm hoping that if they didn't get a chance, they put it in the chat before they leave. Because I know Robert wanted to ask a couple of questions. He did briefly talk about it in the breakout room.
Good.
But I just think if there was some additional information, they probably are typing in chat.
They're all just saying thank you, including him. Robert said thank you.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's nice. So everybody's, you know, there's, I don't know, 5 or 6 thank yous. So good information. Thanks for the good tips.
I had a few like private, like send me thanks as well. Like,
Oh, nice.
yeah, and a couple of questions, but they got answered. One was Megan.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You all
Should
are
I
phenomenal. Thank you so much.
Tamika, I don't think that parents really understand the MTSS process. So
I'm sorry.
I said, I don't think a lot of our parents really understand that process.
No.
So that would be something we can take from your slides and maybe add that to part of our website, or if anything that you have already created that we could, that's family friendly.
Okay.
We could post up so that they know where to go to seek for help and how that process works.
Right, because it is confusing. I remember having to like go back and review it. So, and I'm in the system.
Right.
So someone said, where would you post? Oh. You want to put, oh no, I'm going to email. No, go ahead. Sorry.
All right, it's just us left. I removed the last few.
Did you see that question from Mary about where would you post?
I put that at home source website.
Gotcha. Sorry.
Is she gone though?
Yeah, she's gone now.
Yep.
I'm really sorry for eating up time.
No,
you're great.
It was so good, and it was honestly everything that we need to hear, and parents need to know that. It was great.
Yes, stop it.
Can you lock the entrance?
Just always put me at the end.
Trying to zone and then come back in.
Nobody's trying to come back in, are they?
I don't know if we get talking. You know.
I can lock it. Yeah. You want me to?
Yes.
I didn't know you could do that.
I didn't either.
It's locked now.
Now we're safe. Safer at home.
Yes. I just think that information from all of you in Carrie at the end, because you have such younger babies, was perfect for her.
Well, you know what I didn't do? I didn't stop the recording, so I'm stopping that.
Oh.